Hey YouTube, it's me, Jen, your Pudgy Picker.
And Kim.
And we are here for another podcast, Two Sisters,
One Booth.
And this is podcast number
37.
37.
37?
Yeah,
okay. 37.
So today we're talking about keeping an eye on what is going through the front register, or essentially paying attention to what is being sold at your mall. Now, this might be more difficult if you are not in a situation, a co-op situation, where you actually work and you can be around to see what is going through if you're there all day, like we do.
Yep.
If you are, I don't know, just, if the owner of the mall is open to, talking about sales numbers or certain days or certain trends, that's something you can ask. But there's nothing that beats being there and seeing what is ready to go through the register or what goes through the register. Mm-hmm. We have shelves up front, since we do not have carts in our mall, that the walkers go around and say, here, let me take that up front. Here's a claim ticket. When you're ready and you go up front, just hand us this number and we'll get your items. So anytime you do go into the mall, even if you just pop in for something, you can go over to that shelf and see things that people have pulled aside that they are going to be purchasing. Mm-hmm. And just going through, I always look to see if anything of mine's up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But to see what is up there, and maybe you see an item that you have at home, or maybe you see an item that you have in your booth, you can go over and look at the price tag and say, ooh, how much are they asking? Or is this about the same condition of what I have? So it's a good way of paying attention to what is actually being sold.
Yeah, because one of the questions we get all the time, and she got on her channel long before I showed my face or voice on it, is how do you know what to buy? What is going to sell? Well, we've always said it depends on where you're at and everything. But at the same time, in this case, you can keep an eye on what it is that's selling. What is a trend? What are people buying? And when you're seeing it come through the register, then it's not, okay, they're buying that, but is it because of the price? So you get a really, it's very informative to see it that way. I use the same thing, I'm sure we'll talk about on like Facebook posts and stuff too. There's a lot of ways you can use a lot of things to gauge what you have, what's selling, and what prices are going for. But that is as close as you can get, is watching it go through the register.
And it's kind of like when we've talked about videos where, oh, look, here's, and I do it too. Here's my thrift haul. Here's what I bought. Here's what I'm going to get. Here's what I'm going to price it as.
Yep.
That's different than, here's my video of what's sold.
Yes, I love those.
Yeah. So it is, oh, you see people, oh, you're bringing in that. Oh, that's cool. How much you asking for that? That's what you want to get for it. Who knows how long it's going to be there. When you were at the register and you're physically seeing things get wrapped up and walk out the door, then you are getting that what sold for your booth.
Exactly.
So that's the difference. We also, and I don't necessarily think this is wrong. Maybe you can correct me.
I'm
sure you will.
I will.
But we, when items come through the front register, the cash register person pulls the tag off. Those tags are taken to the office, where they are put in a book, where they are put under the vendor's number, and you get that page back with the readout and your check.
Yeah, now not all places do that, but we really are glad they do.
And the advantage of that is, tell me if I'm wrong, is you can be walking and saying, wow, that vendor has, their prices are kind of high, but they got really nice stuff, I go look at their price tags and see.
Yeah, flipping past the page here.
Yeah, so you can kind of, maybe keep an eye on that too. I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's, I mean, I am nosy by nature.
I'm not looking at your check or anything.
Yeah, but it is interesting to see, how things are going. So, yeah, it's really nice to see, like you said, what's selling, what's trending. You know, you can guess all you want how much you think things are going to go for, either on eBay or in your antique booth. There's some things I bring in, and I have this thing in my brain where I'm going to be walking to put it on the booth, and right as I set it on the shelf, somebody's going to grab it out of my hands and go buy it.
And 2 years later.
Yeah, or you think, should I even? Yeah, I'll sell it. It goes. So, you know, we've been in this business, you know, almost 10 years, and there's this part of you going, I know what I'm doing. I know what's going to sell. I know how long this is going to sit on the shelf. No, I don't. No, I don't. It's, you have that idea, you have that past experience, you have what you think it's going to do. It may or may not sell, and it may or may not sell in the time frame mentally you think it is.
Well, working at the registers, I have got to say, there has been stuff that comes through, and you can't say it out loud, but my brain is going, I would have thrown this away. There is no way I would have insulted my booth by putting that on a shelf. And then to add insult to injury, you look at it and see how much they're asking for it and going,
what do they know that I don't?
Exactly. It's
what education have I missed upon this item?
Yeah, and a lot of times that's a great time for conversation with the customer, because obviously the customer bought it for a reason.
Yep.
And sometimes, you know, when you find something that reminds you of something, or is going to fill a spot, or people love to talk about what they're buying.
Yep.
I mean, that goes for all retail. Even this, you know, you go into Joann Fabrics and you're cutting cloth, and they'll say, "Oh, what are you going to make
it?" Yeah.
So, and because they know you're engaging the customer, and they love to talk about stuff, it makes them happy. Yep. So that's a good time to learn, what is this thing? What is it used for? What are you going to do with it? And it spurs, later on down the road, you'll see something similar and go, oh, I'm going to buy that piece of crap because somebody's going to pay good money for it.
You know, that's interesting, because if you, like you, when you're working, having people come through the register, you're concentrating on your job and what you have to do. And to kind of make the time go smoothly, the person who's wrapping, you know, fragile items and putting them away, putting them into bags, is kind of supposed to keep the customer engaged and out of your hair so you can do what you need to do. Yeah. And that's a great time to say, oh, what exactly is this? Or how old is this? Or, you know, well, what are you going to use that for? If it's, you know, like a vintage wood box, and boy, like you said, they light up, oh, I'm going to put this in it, and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to do that. Yeah. So it's a good time to get educated, because you may think, well, those people don't necessarily know what they're talking about. They're the ones with the cash. They're the ones that are buying it. And if they're telling you what they're going to do with it, or how they want it, or what it means to them, that is an education right there.
Well, it's funny you mentioned a wood box, because when I worked last weekend, this old little bitty wood box came up, and I don't know, it couldn't have been more than maybe 12 inches long and maybe 7 or 8, 9 inches tall. No, it couldn't even be 9 inches, maybe 7 or 8 inches tall. And it just looked like a crummy little box. And so I took the sticker off of it and I opened it up, because I like to check inside just to make sure.
So it had a lid on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you opened it up, I was like, oh, this is a neat box. And I opened it up, and the print, there was a paper that was old as all get out, but very well preserved. It was an old child's wooden toolbox. There was missing the tools in that, but she said, my husband collects old tools. And so I saw this, and I had to buy it for him for his collection. So it was going to be a gift.
Aww.
But I mean, if you just saw the box, you'd go, oh, that's a cool box. But, you know, you wouldn't have never thought. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's really cool. I know I have a box. It doesn't have a lid. It just has, like, the sides are taller, and it has the hole, and then it has, like, you know, a bar of wood for a toolbox that was Dad's.
Yep.
And I keep that next to the couch, and I have my you know, my scissors and my little things to write with, and paper clips, and just little incidentals if I'm doing work, you know, in the living room on the couch. So, I mean, even something like that, I love looking at it, because it reminds me of Dad, and I see those all the time, and those are in every size, shape. There are some, I know there was one at the auction a couple of weeks ago. Oh. And it was so big, and it was a pipe for the handle. And I thought, that thing's got to weigh 35 pounds empty, let alone with tools in it. You wouldn't, I mean, you would have need like 3-4 people to pick that thing up and carry it. But, you know.
I have one Dad made that has a metal pipe for a handle.
Oh, this must be big.
Yeah, well, it's not real big, but it wasn't as big as that one was.
Yeah. Ooh. So,
cool.
yeah. So, you know, you see stuff like that, and it's nice to ask, because not only are you learning something, but you just to see somebody, like you said, light up. And, you know, imagine her, you know, excitement at giving that to him. And her waiting for his reaction to see him, you know, light up because it's something he likes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's half the fun of giving a gift to someone, is giving them something. You're excited. You want to see their reaction, you know, and you know how much they're going to love something.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, even just when you walk through our mall or you walk through an antique mall to see things, oh, I had that when I was a kid, or do you remember Grandma used to have that, or... You know, or even things look familiar and you're not exactly sure. We'll talk about stuff and you'll say, oh, yeah, you know, Grandma had that in the front room and this and that. And, oh, yeah. So, I mean, it's just such an emotional experience to go through the store and to see stuff. And then to ask the people who are buying it, you know, what are you going to do with it? They just light up. It's really cool to see that. And if you're not in a co-op situation, or you're not able to be there or hang out and pay attention to that, I really think you're missing something.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a certain amount of work and inconvenience of having to work at the antique mall, but I think we get so much out of it. I think we learn a lot. And there's so many other people that have so much knowledge there.
Oh, yeah.
And the customers, other vendors. It's just, I mean, it really is an education. And, you know, even if you aren't in a co-op, you know, could you say, you know, maybe could I come out and just hang out for a little bit and help out a little and just...
Shop yourself. And while you're shopping, just pay attention to the customers, see what they're picking up. See what they're, even if they don't buy it, if they pick it up and look at it, there was an interest there.
Or see what they say to each other. They'll pick it up and say, oh, look how funny that is. Or, do you remember that? Or, I used to have one in green, or whatever. So to see, you know, even just to walk around as a customer, and other customers don't know that you're a vendor, and to listen to them talk.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, there's just so much to be, you know, learned. There's so much to be...
like English? Proper English?
It is my first language, believe it or not. It's just something you know, that if you take that time, you're going to get something out of it that could help your business ultimately. So I don't know. I think it's important, and I think the way that our mall is run, and having no employees and being... you know, all of us are vendors. There's a whole different vibe to our mall because it's structured that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure having the kind of situation we do, as opposed to you go in, you put stuff in your booth, you leave, you don't have to work, you're not really involved. I know there's pros and cons to both.
For a lot of people that don't have the time to be able to do the hours or the lifting or the whatever,
You know, it's funny, there was a vendor in the booth. Oh, no, she was walking around. It was the Customer Appreciation Day. It was a day we were open that we aren't normally open. And there was several vendors that I have never met. And it's because they work a regular 9 to 5, and their work days are on the weekends. So you probably see people when you're working on Saturday that you don't ever see when we're in there working.
Yeah, and there's a few I used to see at the other place that I never see because they never work weekends.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I mean, we're pretty well known. We've been there for quite some time.
They know us as the sisters.
The sisters. And I got called by your name again today. One of the ladies said something about Kim, and I go, oh, so I could be mean to you right now, and you would think I was my sister because I'm actually Jen. She's like, oh. I'm like, no, that's okay. We're kind of, we're kind of a package deal.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I mean, to meet somebody and, oh, how long have you been here? I've been here a year. It's like, wow. We do occasionally have, vendor meetings and such. We got one coming up in February. You're not going to be here.
I know. I just told
you're
her that the other night.
She's going to Disney. So, yeah, I'll have to take lots of notes, I'm sure.
Yes.
But in that one, I know whenever we do that, there's a good handful of vendors. I'm like, I've never seen these people.
Yeah.
Because they have a regular 9 to 5 and
when
they work
everybody's
on the weekend.
in one spot, it takes up so much room too, because
Yeah.
you know there's like 100 vendors.
Yeah.
So to get everybody in the building at the same time is like, wow.
So, you know, but it's really neat, you know, in our situation. I mean, we have to work 2 work days because of our single booth. So Kim works 1, I work 1. But I tell you, there's just, I don't know, even like I'm working Friday 2 days from now, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, I could be getting so much done at home. But I know by the end of the day I'm tired, but I was glad to be there. Mm-hmm. And I learned something during the day, mm-hmm. and that's, you know, and learning, plus when you're there, not only what is being purchased, who is shopping at the mall, what ages, what, you know, what financial situations. There's more young people sometimes, I think, that surprises me. Mm-hmm. You know, you kind of expect a certain age.
Well, look at that one fella. He's been a young man shopping with us for a long time. And he just opened a booth not long
ago.
He's
in his, what, like early 20s.
I was going to say, really young. He's about as big around as my pinky finger.
Yeah, he's probably about 90 pounds soaking wet. But if you looked at his booth and said,
you'd never know.
Tell me, describe the person who owns this booth.
Yeah.
You would not come up with him. I mean, he looks like a college kid.
Yeah, but the funny thing is he doesn't look like a regular college kid. Yeah. Every time I've ever seen him, he's always had like a suit coat on. You know, just dressing, what do you call it, trendy?
He has an old soul, I bet.
Yeah, my oldest daughter's that way, too. But that's another story.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's so interesting because you can look at a lot of booths and say, well, the person probably is this way or that way, but we really are a wide variety of people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've never really gotten a chance to talk to him, but I would love to say, you know, hey, you know, where did you get an interest in vintage mm-hmm. or antique things? And, you know, because I'm sure I can almost guess that it's his grandmother.
Somebody in the family.
Had some kind of influence or took him places mm-hmm. and he, you know, gravitated toward certain items or things reminded him. Mm-hmm. He had an eye for it. I mean, you know, here on YouTube, there's tons of people that are quite young who are doing, you know, really awesome things, and, you know, the things that they like and the things that they choose to sell. You know, there's a part of you that's like, wow, that seems out of his, you know, out of their age bracket.
I'm drawn to people like that. There's just something about some people. I just get a vibe from them. They're artsy fartsy. They're quirky. They're you know that there's
weird.
More, more than meets the eye there, and it intrigues me, and I always want to get to know. So every time I recognize him, because first of all, to see a younger person in there shopping like that, but when he would come through my line, and I'd always think he's just the way he dresses and everything is a little on the quirky side.
And he's got an eye for what he's buying.
Exactly. It's like, I'd love to get to talk to him a little bit more, because I bet you he's got some interesting facts or something to make him intriguing, you know?
Because you automatically have this assumption or stereotype of a person who either has a booth at our place or shops at our place. You know, they're of a certain age, they're of a certain income, you know, whatever the case might be, you have this automatic thought in your head. And to see the varying ages of the people who shop, you know, in our mall, it's really cool. Or vendors. I mean, he's in his early 20s, and we have people that are, you know, creeping into the 80s.
Yep.
I mean, it's such a wide variety of individuals, and that's what makes it interesting, but that's what also makes it a little bit, you know, things can be a little bit hairy at times because there is a generation gap.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's,
technology.
Yeah. Oh, technology.
We won't even go into that. But,
But, you know, it's like going, you know, sometimes you feel like it's like going back in time and explaining, you know, to a caveman what Facebook is, and it's like, what? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, despite that, you know, you got to be open to, you know, paying attention, learning things. And I'm sure if I talked with him for more than 10 minutes, I could probably learn something that I didn't know.
I was going to say, don't be shy about asking a question. Even if you're not in there to work or anything, don't be shy. If you see something interesting or intriguing sitting on a shelf, walk up and ask the owner or the whoever, you know, do you know anything about this? What is this? What does it do? How old is it? You know, something. Because you never know when that information is going to come in handy somewhere else. I mean, and each of us knows different things. I think of like when we've been to the auction together, and there's been times where I've come back and said, did you see the so-and-so up there on? No, well, it's this, that, or the other. And then I look it up and I show her what it's trending for on eBay, and you're like, and it's like, go ahead and, you know, get it if you want it. But so sometimes, and that's a whole nother podcast, is opening up windows on things that you would never normally look at to buy.
Yeah, going out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
certainly.
But so if you see something and you get that thought, oh, I wonder what that is, or oh, I wonder how, ask. That's a great opportunity to learn
our grandpa
and
used to
expand.
say, if you don't know, ask.
That's right.
Well, and the other thing is, too, kind of going along with that, is when I have been garage sailing, especially, you know, if you look at something and it's something you think, wow, that's really interesting and it's a good price, I want to buy it and resell it, you'll say, wow, how old is this? Or when do you remember getting? I mean, that's where you get a lot of your information to start off. Okay, where would I even start to search and research this item as to how old it is or where it's from? And, you know, somebody will say, oh, that's been hanging on the living room wall since the 70s. I don't have no idea how old. So you start getting this information that helps you.
Well, also the information can also up the price. I mean, anytime, if you've ever watched any of those you know, shows where they go out scavenging and go into people's door knocking, can I dig through your barn shows?
Yep.
What do? The history of the item. If you have the history of an item, it can mean so much more on a product than if it's just something that's cool hanging there.
And that's the only reason things have value, is because they mean something to someone. You know, they get signs there that are like, you know, let's say you get a sign or some kind of advertising and it looks like, you know, it's been shot at literally and run over by a car, and yet you can get such a huge price because the appeal is there. It means something to someone, and that's what
shows the age.
That's what holds the value of it. So, you know, if you, like I said, if you can be there either on a work day or just be there to hang out, you know, or just shop. Just walk around like you're shopping the mall. Just pay attention. Try and learn things. Try to understand what's being purchased. Why is it so much? Why is it, you know, why is this one kind of looks like it and it's so much more than this one? You know, there's so much to be learned. And I said learned again, didn't I? Oh.
Okay, people, count how many times
that's
she
twice.
says.
There's just so much to know. And I've often said, the longer I'm in this business, the more I know that I don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, you never stop learning. And
there's too much. You could never learn everything there is to know.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it makes me laugh when people say, oh, well, you know, all the thrift stores, they know all the value of everything and blah, blah, blah. They may know certain things.
Yep.
They don't know everything. Nope. I can still go in and find lots, even an estate sale, where people are trained and they know how much things are worth. You know, I go in, I don't look at the glass case in the front. I don't look at the stuff that's all, you know, in that front main room. No, I go to the basement. I go to the garage.
Yep.
I find stuff that they didn't deem as having any value.
Yep.
And that's all from getting an education, seeing what sells, seeing what people are offering. And that's, you know, you never stop learning. And you can't, like you said, you want to continue to expand and look at more things. I mean, if we looked for one item every time we went sourcing, look at all the stuff we would leave behind. Yep. Because you think, well, I don't know what that is, or I don't have an interest in that. You know, it's just keep learning, keep, you know, experiencing.
Well, that's another reason why our booth is so eclectic, because we do like and buy so many different things where some people kind of stick to a certain theme, or so they leave a lot of money on the shelves and we pick it up right behind them. That's okay.
I think that's tough, because I know in our old place, there's one particular booth that has what would be called primitive items.
Yes.
And it's really a beautiful display. Everything matches. Everything has this vibe to it.
Kind of rustic-y.
But not everybody. Yeah. If somebody looks in and goes, "Ugh," you know, if you don't have a wide variety of things, you're only gonna attract a certain person who's interested in that particular item. We have another booth. We were just talking to the lady today that she has everything is like off-white, pink, mint green, you know, girlified.
Yeah.
And her booth is stunning to look at, but not everyone is going to be interested in that particular look. So, I don't know. I always say to diversify. Yeah.
I mean, if that's what you know and you can source it good and it's selling and flying out the doors, I'm very happy for you. Yep. But unfortunately for us in particular, we haven't found that to be real true for us, you know.
Yeah, our experience is, well, it's like anything else. Everybody has different things you like. And I think that it's just our tendency in our business to be drawn to what you like.
And, yeah, what you already know about.
Yeah, and I think our booth is very reflective of us as people, as what we like and what matches and, you know, what's interesting and cool to us. It's pretty obvious that our booth is our booth because of that reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, avail yourself, even if you are not in a co-op situation, you know, try to find a way to, you know, get in there, shop, just walk around, just be part of the atmosphere, listen to what vendors are saying, listen to what the owners are saying, listen to what customers are saying. There's so many ways to learn and to see how people are thinking and what, you know, or if they're, you know, you're listening and they say, oh, that's really cool, but oh my gosh, that's so expensive, or, you know, all that stuff. There's just so much to know because people love to shop with other people in our type of store. I mean, you do find people occasionally walking around by themselves, but for the most part, they're in there in 2s and 3s and 4s because that's how it's fun to shop in our place because you can show, oh, look at this, look at that. So, yeah, so that's something we encourage you to do. It's going to educate you. You're going to see, you know, what's going out the door and what does that mean to you? How can that shape or change how you are purchasing items? So it's to your benefit to do that. And so you have anything else to add in that particular?
I don't think so tonight.
Well, I did have a thought I wanted to bring out, and you know, we're going to try and do this at the end of each podcast, is just do a real quick week in review. Yeah. How things went for the last week in the booth. Now, we don't have to, we're not going to get real specific as far as how much and, you know, giving out our numbers and all that, but just a quick, what in the last week has stuck out to you? What in the last week have you noticed or is worth mentioning to other people of like circumstance like us who are vendors? We got paid today. And what I've been doing is we get a readout twice a week sent to us through our email of telling us what our sales are so far. And this past week, on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I printed out mine. And then I knew we were coming out on Wednesday. So I went through and was paying attention to what was being sold. I had a few larger items that I knew, oh, those sold, so I'll be able to bring in like size items, some larger items to go to fit in that particular spot. Also, I sold one of my first soaps, and I also sold 2 air plants, so that was kind of cool. Actually, they put one as an air plant. They put another one as a lucky bamboo. I didn't sell a lucky bamboo. So I brought in 1 air plant to hang up in my display. I'm working Friday, so I'm going to bring another one on Friday. But I was able to figure out what soap sold, so I brought another one in to replace that. I had a few particular items here and there that sold. I knew about how much fabric I sold, so I was able to bag up a certain amount of that, bring it out. It fit pretty good. So that's something we encourage you too, that if you do get a readout from your store, to kind of pay attention to that and see, what's trending, oh, that's sold, now I can bring that in. Because if you live more than a few minutes away from the store, that can be a lot to go more than once a week, because you have a big space, and now that space is just going to be sitting with nothing in it to sell.
Yeah, that's true.
So something else I did, and I showed this to Kim, because I did it while we were sitting there today, was I went through and I put a little star by items that I know for a fact have been in my booth for at least 5 to 6 months.
Had to dust a few times.
Yes. And I really wanted to do that because it's been 1 month since our big redo in the booth,
Yep.
and we moved things around, and I counted 11 items that sold that have literally been there 5 to 6 months.
That's just in a 2-week period.
In a 2-week period.
Yep.
And I was just kind of floored by it, because I'm thinking, some of these items have been there, that's a long time. And to have them moved, it was like they were brand new again.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really kind of cool to look at that. And I'm thinking, is it just because it's placed in a better spot, or is just because it was in a different spot?
Yeah.
So, I thought that was kind of cool to pay attention to that. And it's neat because all of the things that I planned to bring in, they fit everywhere I wanted them to fit. And once we were done, I was telling Kim, I'm like, I still really love how the booth looks. Because,
Yep.
the first time you do it, you change it and you look at it and you're like, oh, everything looks awesome. And then a month later, I think it's still as awesome as it was when we changed things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the big switch has definitely been a great thing. My moving things, I've sold literally 11 things that have been sitting there for a while. And so I'm pretty happy with that. So if your mall does send you, a readout, an email with what has sold, consider doing that. We have a lot of smalls. So it was one of those things where I could pull it up and say, we sold this, that, and the other. I'm going to bring in items specifically for that area where they were sitting. Yeah. And it worked out good. So instead of just looking and going, oh, that's how much I've made so far, and then you just erase the email, I mean, it's actually, I think, been a really good
Who erases
thing.
emails?
Oh my gosh, you know what? Let's just say it's a good thing the world is not like me, because there would never be anything vintage or old, because I get rid of stuff so quick.
That is true.
Yeah. I mean, I was just at the thrift store on Monday, and I bought a brand new, still sealed, flat sheet for a, I think, double-sized bed from the 70s. Who does that? That's crazy. I mean, that's something you buy.
Yeah,
I got a tear. I got to buy a new sheet. What do? You buy it, and you buy it, and it sits in your house for 40 years. Literally.
6 months. If it's 6 months in her house, she's doing good. Otherwise, it's bye.
Out the door. So, I mean, but I see stuff like that sheet, and I just have to laugh, because I'm like, that's really weird. Why would you buy something that's utilitarian? It's something you need. It's not a decorative item. It's, what do you just, oh, that's a pretty sheet, I'll buy it, and then you just put it in your closet and you never use it?
Obviously, that's what somebody did.
That's funny.
Or they had more stuff, where some people have
Maybe it
stuff
was a wedding
and forget,
gift or something.
Yeah, or you forget where you put it. And then,
just...
50 years later, 40 years later,
and
you find it.
people buy those.
I know.
It's crazy.
People love that stuff.
I just had to laugh. I mean, it's kind of ugly, but it's somebody's gonna buy it.
Somebody's looking at it.
But
well, a TV show I was watching the other day about remodeling houses. This one house was really old, and it had wallpaper in it. And so before they tore down the wallpaper, she took a big swatch, had them try to take off a big swatch off the walls, and she recreated it into fabric and made pillows to pay homage. And one was really cute. It was like a little kid's room originally. It was white, and it had little poodles with little skirts and stuff on, and she made the cutest pillows out of that.
Wow, that's funny.
So there's a good reason some things are left behind.
I know there was a
People like
remodel somewhere that I was at, and it had a drop ceiling, and when they took that down, there was literally like five 5 layers of wallpaper. It was like
That's why
it was like carbon dating. It's like, yeah, that's from this era. Okay, that one's from this era.
Well, that house that I used to live in was the original part of the house was there when the county became the county, and at that time it was like 154 years or something.
Goodness.
It was as there when it was being documented. It had the floor joists in the basement were actually
Logs.
Trees.
I remember
Tree
that.
branches that still had the bark on them. They didn't even take the bark off of them. So yeah, this part of the house was really, really old. And when I went to do the one room and redo it for the kids, there was like 6 layers of wallpaper. But it was interesting to try to peel it apart and look at all the different colors.
Can you imagine? It's like, boy, this room seemed a lot bigger 30 years ago.
That's what held the
walls
hallway together.
are closing in on you. That's
The hallway
why.
going up the stairs, and it was horsehair plaster. And from being bumped all those years, it was coming loose and had holes and stuff. But when if you went to take that paper off, the whole wall was falling apart.
That's the only
It
thing
was
holding it together. That's funny.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway.
I don't know. The houses they build now will probably never. We're going to go to a point where there's not going to be century homes anymore because the stuff that they're making just probably is never going to stand that long. But anyway, that's a side point. So yeah, that's what's going on in our booth this week. Did you have anything to add? No. You're so helpful.
I know. Well, I chimed in where I could chime in.
So yeah, each week we'll, just do a booth check and say anything interesting happened this week. What do you think? So, but that's what I noticed this week. I'm going to keep my eye on things and keep paying attention to that and printing off, what sold and to kind of keep track of that. I've been like, the paper I just kind of jotted down. I sold like $35 in fabric. I sold maybe 6 or 8 pairs of earrings. I sold 8 of my incense. So it's kind of neat just to see, how that stuff is going.
Oh, 3 of those I rang up for you Saturday.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it kind of sits for a little bit, and then all of a sudden there was one lady came in and bought like 20 of them. And I got $2 a piece. So it was like $44. I was like, holy cow. So I'm getting to a point where I'm going to have to order some more of those. But I don't know, I feel like when we rearranged the booth, I had this renewed, I'm going to stay on top of it. So I'm hoping that that's going to last beyond 4 weeks, because sometimes you come out and you're like, oh, I forgot that sold. I'll bring in something next week. And, you're still paying for that space, whether you have something sitting in it for sale or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to just stay on top of it more. And the stuff that I brought in that was filling space of some larger items was stuff I've had in the basement for a while, and it's getting hard to walk around down there. So yeah, so it was nice to pull stuff in that I've had for a while. So yeah, we'll keep you informed as to how that goes. So if you don't have anything else,
I guess that's it for this evening.
So we hope that you enjoyed our podcast this week. Please give this video podcast a thumbs up. You can leave a comment down below, or if you have a question, or you can email me, jen@pudgypicker.com. You can follow me on Twitter and also Instagram under The Pudgy Picker. And I guess that's it.
That's it.
Yep.
That's all, folks.
We actually ran out of things to talk about.
Oh, no, that's not true, but that's for another day.
Well, we'll talk another half an hour after we're done here.
That's true.
Yeah. It's a good thing I don't live with you. We'd never sleep or get anything done.
That's about it.
Okay, we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Okay, bye.